there we go. We're Stills.
Hey everyone, how you doing? What's happening? How are you? It's Wayne Stills. We're Wayne Stills for Miracles Everywhere. Today I'm gonna a simple day where I'm reading the lesson and we're talking about the lesson. It's a very simple. It's a good lesson today. It's from lesson 79. But first, I'm gonna play a song just to relax. Let's kind of get us in the mood. I have a nice song. I played that thing once before. It's called "Gone Fishing." I'm gonna go fishing, and let me just share the sound. Change my glasses here so I can see better. There we go. Let me just share the sound here for a second. So today we'll share the lesson. I'll read the lesson and I'll stop and go as I've done before. Oh no, I just want the wrong one. All right. Okay. So this is Gone Fishing by Chris Ray. And it's from Arbush is the name of the album. All right, so sit back, relax, take it easy, have a cup of coffee or whatever it is you do at 12:40 Eastern to relax, and I'll be back in about a moment or two to get to the ACIM, the Course of Miracles. Miracles are everywhere. Everywhere you go, miracles exist. So long as you have a mind, and you are a mind, so long as you realize you have a mind, you are one, you can transform from uh, negative to positive, from pessimistic to optimistic, from down to up, from left to right. That's easy. Once you get into the habit of being miracle ready, things can change at a drop of a hat, drop of a dime, and you don't have to even know how it's going to change. It just changes for the better. And it's like what was the name of that movie with Tom Cruise, where things were starting to change for the better because he was suddenly in a dream mode. I don't remember the movie. Vanilla Sky. He suddenly was in a dream mode that he had prepared before at some point earlier, and things just started to go better. Sometimes I feel like I'm a Vanilla Sky when things go well. It's like everything that can go well goes well. The opposite of Murphy's Law. It's the anti-Murphy. The anti-Murphy. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the anti-Murphy.
I'm going fishing. I got me a line. Nothing I do's gonna make the difference. So I'm taking the time. And you ain't never gonna be so I'm going fishing, and I'm going today. I'm going fishing. Sounds crazy, I know. I know nothing about fishing, but just watch me go. And when my time has come, I will look back and see a whole lifetime trying to be what you think is expected of you, but you'll never be free. May as well go fishing.
Gone Fishing by Chris Ray. Gone Fishing. It's a nice song. It's a relaxing song. So I hope you enjoyed that song. Uh, so let's get to the lesson of the day. Let me get to there. It's a nice song. Yeah, it's a great song. Okay, let's move along. Feeling pretty mellow this morning. Feel nice and mellow. So lesson 79. Lesson 79. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. So let's just start with that. Let's just start playing it, and I'll stop and go that way.
Lesson 79. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. A problem cannot be solved if you do not know what it is.
The very first line sets up the entire tone of the piece of the lesson. A problem cannot be solved if you don't know what it is. It seems like a very obvious statement. If you don't know what the problem is, how can you solve it? It's almost a typical statement by Christ, and that he's Jesus is almost being an older brother poking fun at the younger brother again. He's kind of hey, you can't solve a problem if you don't know what the hell the problem is. Come on, wake up, wake up, wake up. You can't solve a problem until you see the problem. You have to open your eyes if you want to walk around, and if you want to get places, if you want to get where you're going, you gotta see where you're going. You have to open your eyes.
Even if it is really solved already, you will still have the problem because you will not recognize that it has been solved. This is the situation of the world. The problem of separation, which is really the only problem, has already been solved. Yet the solution is not recognized because the problem is not recognized.
Now, keep in mind what that really means. One of the ways to look at the way that the problem has already been solved, because it could be that people are a little bit confused how to make sense out of that. There's only one problem. Only one problem exists, which is the problem of separation. And so there's only one problem. You have to assume the problem's been answered already. The problem's been solved already by somebody. Now we know it has been by Jesus. He solved that problem already. And so that's it. The problem's been solved. We just don't know what the problem is. We don't see the problem. So we don't know what there's even a problem to be asked, a problem to be solved. So we don't see the problem. We don't see we don't see that we're in a situation that needs to be solved. But there's only one problem, so it's bound to be solved by now. So our job is not to try to figure out what's the problem, in a sense, is open our eyes and see what the problem is. And then he's telling us the problem right here, separation. We don't even have to look for the problem anymore. We just know what it is. It's right there. The thoughts of Jesus. He's telling us right here, right now, right in front of me. It's saying it right now, lesson 79. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. The problem, separation. The only problem has already been solved. The solution is not recognized. Why? Because the problem is not recognized. And how many people go past that and don't realize that they've just been given the answer to the problem? One problem to all the seeming problems, all can be narrowed down to one problem. Separation, feeling fractured, isolation. All variations in the same theme.
Everyone in this world seems to have his own special problems, yet they are all the same and must be recognized as one if the one solution that solves them all is to be accepted. Who can see that a problem has been solved if he thinks the problem is something else? Even if he is given the answer, he cannot see its relevance. That is the position in which you find yourself now. You have the answer, but you are still uncertain about what the problem is. A long series of different problems seems to confront you, and as one is settled, the next one and the next arise. There seems to be no end to them. There is no time in which you feel completely free of problems and at peace. The temptation to regard problems as many is the temptation to keep the problem of separation unsolved. The world seems...
Notice how we are the ones keeping the problem unsolved. The temptation is there, and we so often, most often, take it. We have many problems as far as most of us are concerned. We respond to life as though there are many problems. Even if we know that there's only one problem, we may know it, but we don't necessarily respond that way or react that way.
To present you with a vast number of problems, each requiring a different answer. This perception places you in a position in which your problem-solving must be inadequate, and failure is inevitable. No one could solve all the problems the world appears to hold. They seem to be on so many levels, in such varying forms, and with such varied content, that they confront you with an impossible situation.
Remind me of my daughter right now. She's getting involved in social work, and she's in prison reform. And I was talking about how with her, I talk about often with her and with others, but how it's one part of the process, one part of the problem. It's so hard as for a social worker to get out there and save the world, and if she has big plans, that's only seeming one part of the problem. But it's the same solution, the same problem for her as anybody else, as any other problem that exists. Is the same issue: separation, the feeling of isolation, loneliness. Reach people who think they're alone, people who think they need to hide from others, from themselves.
Dismay and depression are inevitable as you regard them. Some spring up unexpectedly, just as you think you have resolved the previous ones. Others remain unsolved under a cloud of denial and rise to haunt you from time to time, only to be hidden again, but still unsolved. All this complexity is but a desperate attempt not to recognize the problem, and therefore not to let it be resolved. If you could recognize that your only problem is separation, no matter what form it takes, you could accept the answer because you would see its relevance. Perceiving the underlying constancy in all the problems that seem to confront you, you would understand that you have the means to solve them all, and you would use the means because you recognize the problem.
Imagine that. Imagine if every time you had a problem, you narrow it down to that problem. It would mean that everything, the premise from your life would be on, in terms of solving these problems, would be that premise. And everything would go through that premise. So you would have a stable piece of information that you could work off. You would know, all right, how is this variation of the variation of separation? The problem is separation. The problem is I'm feeling fractured at some level. How does this play out based on that premise? The problem is separation. How is this a variation of that problem?
In our longer practice periods today, we will ask what the problem is and what is the answer to it. We will not assume that we already know. We will try to free our minds of all the many different kinds of problems we think we have. We will try to realize that we have only one problem which we have failed to recognize. We will ask what it is and wait for the answer. We will be told. Then we will ask for the solution to it, and we will be told. The exercises for today will be successful to the extent to which you do not insist on defining the problem. Perhaps you will not succeed in letting all your preconceived notions go, but that is not necessary. All that is necessary is to entertain some doubt about the reality of your version of what your problems are.
And this is what you would call the mustard seed thing. The smallest amount of doubt will lead you to be able to put what you're looking at into the file of not truth. Now, we've talked about this a million times. How many times do you look at the sun and see it going around the earth? But you know it's not going around the earth. You know the earth's going around the sun. But you don't see it differently. You still see the sun going around the earth. You still see this. So you're putting it in sort of, well, that's not really the way it looks file. It's not the way it looks file. You put it in that live file. So it's what he's saying here. You don't necessarily see one problem only right away. But you'll know when you see all the many problems that those really aren't many problems that you're looking at. You're going to know that what you're looking at really is one problem. It may look like many problems still, but there's not many problems there. The earth may look flat, but it's not flat, it's round. The round pops up in your imagination, but the senses still see flat. It pops up in your imagination because since you're a little kid, you've been seeing around Earth. So don't expect, if you don't necessarily, I have a lot of problems, I'm not supposed to feel that way. That's another, you're adding problem on top of problem, top of problem. The key is to know the truth. The experience is not necessarily going to come right away. And it doesn't have to. The knowledge of the truth is what you want to have. You know the truth, and the truth sets you free. You don't have to feel it, or experience it. People who try to experience the truth or make others experience the truth for God knows how many years. If you want to know love, you don't have to feel it. You just know that love is there. And when you know love is there, the more you know love is there, the more you experience the love on love's terms.
You are trying to recognize that you have been given the answer by recognizing the problem, so that the problem and the answer can be brought together and you can be at peace. The shorter practice periods for today will not be set by time, but by need. You will see many problems today, each one calling for an answer. Our efforts will be directed toward recognizing that there is only one problem and one answer. In this recognition are all problems resolved. In this recognition, there is peace. Be not deceived by the form of problems today. Whenever any difficulty seems to rise, tell yourself quickly, "Let me recognize this problem so it can be solved." Then try to suspend all judgment about what the problem is. If possible, close your eyes for a moment and ask what it is. You will be heard, and you will be answered.
Okay, so that's today's lesson, lesson 79, lesson 79. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. It reminds me of those of the when you say something, you have to want to be helped to be helped. You have to want to be rescued to be rescued. You have to be want. You know, when someone goes to rehab, they have to want to be helped to be helped. I've always found that interesting because, you know, addiction and things like that, and the whole addiction to the world that we live in, the old enslavement to time and space, and the world is all about not wanting to be helped. When someone walks into a rehab and they're addicted to alcohol, they're drunk, or they're disorder, some sort of disorder, they don't want to be helped. That's why they're addicted. If they wanted to be helped, they would have been helped long ago. So you would think that they'd have some sort of plan for that. Somehow they would know, all right, but somehow, but the interesting thing is, there's no plan for that. Not in the universe, nowhere. The only plan for it is that continuously, little by little, somehow you have to recognize, once you open that door a little bit, once you open the door just a tad, just enough to say, all right, I'm going to say, I don't know for sure if I'm right. I entertain the possibility that I might be wrong, that I'm looking at this incorrectly. Then you open up the door to the possibility of a miracle. And what's the miracle? Well, interestingly enough, the minute you say that, the minute you give over to the possibility that you may be incorrect in your point of view, that was the first miracle right there. Because you already changed your mind. You are now looking at things differently. That's how little do you have to do to get a miracle going. Because why is that a miracle? How crazy is that? How difficult it is to say just that little thing. Especially when you're passionate about something and you run into many obstacles, and you find yourself really wanting to argue with someone about this or that. You're going after somebody for this or that, and then suddenly you're not really upset about that. You're upset about this. You're upset about oneness. Your separation from God. Your separation from that person you're yelling at is because you want to be one with that person down deep, and that's why you're getting all upset. It's your lack of oneness with that person that's making you all upset. If you were how you were, if you were with that person the way you really want to be with that person, you would not be upset at all. And the average person hears that, they're going to tell you to go screw yourself. If they're in the middle of a fight, especially. But if you sit there for one moment and say, well, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe you are correct. Maybe the reason why I'm upset with my wife right now, I'm upset with my kids right now, or upset with my spouse right now, or upset with my mother or father right now, or upset with the guy down the block right now, or upset with the person in the store right now, is because of a lack of oneness. Whereas I am not sharing love right now, or expressing love right now, or both of us are hiding. I mean, I'm saying I believe that, but maybe it's true. That's a miracle. What else would that be? And the minute you do that, your mind, you know, your mind will do anything you ask it to do. And that in itself, to realize that is a miracle. So you want to get your mind working for you. And if you tell your mind, I want to experience this, I want to experience that, so separation is the real reason why we're here. We are separated from ourselves. So the first miracle we will ever enter into is the acceptance of that truth. And you don't even have to accept that truth fully. You have to accept the possibility of that truth being real. And if you can't accept the possibility, when my father died in 2019, I had already accepted the strong possibility that he was going to live after he died, that he lived on. So when he died, that hit me right away that he was not dead. He didn't feel dead to me. He still doesn't feel dead to me. He feels so, like he's self-aware. He lived on some way, somehow. He's still around. And whatever that means. But it never really felt like he was gone. But it would seem very difficult for most people in my family to feel that way. Very difficult for them to take even a small step in that direction. And I'm not, it's not my job, or if it's not really within my job purview, or however you want to say it, for me to convince them, especially, well, if a large portion of them I saw at the funeral, that's not the place to tell them that he's not really dead, unless you really, really, you'd be surprised how sensitive a time that can be to tell somebody that he's still living. So you'd be surprised at any funeral, or how when people are grieving, how much they need the person to be dead during that time. The hiding is something we all need and want. We want the hiding. We need the hiding. We need the separation. That's why we give into the temptation to stay here and to delay our stay here and to see many problems instead of just one. Remember, we're omniscient, we're omnipresent, and we're omnipotent. There's no reason why we can't just say, I want to see one problem or one problem only, unless that's what we want. If we want to see many problems, we're seeing many problems. So why would we want that? Because we don't want to look at the problem. We are stuck in fear. We place ourselves in a place where we knew we have a problem getting out of. It's almost as if we gave ourselves some sort of sedative before we came into this dream mode. I mean, I know we didn't do that literally, but imagine if we did something to that effect. We put ourselves in a dream mode that it was so deep that we can't even we can't even muster up enough strength to entertain the possibility that we were actually once were, and actually still are one with each other and God. Literally, literally, literally. Not metaphorically, not just symbolically, but meaning literally one with God, one with each other. We can't even nearly to admit that to ourselves, to admit that to others. We can't even go near that. That's how deep we're in. That's why one of the lessons, the 79th lesson, is why it's here. Let me recognize the problem. Here's a big deal. If you can recognize the problem, it doesn't say let me recognize my problems so they can be solved. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. And this is not necessarily just meant to be, all right, I have a little problem here, so I'm going to recognize this problem so it can be solved. You know, it can be used for any apparent problem that you have. Sure, if you don't recognize that little problem that you think you have, you're not going to be able to solve that problem either. But the ultimate thing to realize is that you don't have this problem at all. The only problem you really have is separation. And even that problem you don't really even have. The ultimate problem is you think you have a separation problem. And then you can let the entire world overwhelm you and bury you. Let all your experiences bury you because they're not really happening. Well, we have this, we have one thing after another, one problem after another, one problem after another. We have to be able to, what is that parade in lesson 14 is for? Try to get yourself into that observatory mode all the time. Recognizing that most of the images that include your body, that your body participates in, all those images that your body participates in, is meaningless. A parade of images are going by you right now, wherever you are. And they're all meaningless because they're all separation. Even the fun images. Now, lesson 14 deals with the negative images. Well, when it comes right down to it, they're all negative. Because they're all two sides of the same coin. They're all duality. You can't have one without the other. Well, sort of down the road. I mean, once you accept the fact that you can, what non-existence is, which is meaninglessness. Once you accept the fact that all the images that you're experiencing is not really happening at all, because it's all meaningless experience, and that includes every single image that you see, every experience that you feel, and that includes everything that your body is participating in. And if you want to observe what your body and the images around you are doing, you have to realize that your body is participating in all the images also around you. It's a fun thing to watch your body from about 5 feet away from it. To be able to watch your body as well as watching somebody else's body as though they're both not you. As though they're both separate bodies from you. Realizing that they're not even there in the first place, they're not really separate from them. You're moving away from separation and you're moving into oneness. And you're observing from a place of oneness the illusion of separation on the screen of your mind. You're watching the entertainment that you place for yourself. I mean, now it's turned into entertainment. Before it was insanity because you thought you were in the entertainment. You thought you were in the movie. You thought you were the character. Life you look at it when life is a dream, literally a dream. You create a reality that's not happening. It's not happening. Same thing with stage and theater. It's not you create a reality on stage, it's not happening. Think about that. Think about life as a play. You're creating a theater on what is theater? It's imaginary circumstances. But the actors are experiencing real feelings. That's what we're doing. We're experiencing real feelings and we're getting confused and thinking those real feelings are reality. The real feelings are reacting to an imaginary circumstance that's not real. The whole world is an imaginary circumstance, and we're actually responding to it as though it's real. It's not real. It's a scripted thing. It's scripted. It's a scripted play. It's a scripted movie. It's an imaginary. It's definition of acting is responding truthfully in imaginary circumstances, and that's what we do here. And and actually, you can't really respond. It's hard to respond truthfully in imaginary circumstances if you think of the circumstances. If everyone thinks the circumstances that are not imaginary. If you don't know the circumstances are imaginary, then your responses are insane. You've lost your mind. Once you realize it's all imaginary, then your responses can become fun and joyful. Then you can be in a play and you are a movie, and if you're watching the movie, it means you've already recorded it. And you're aware of that. Now you're in the audience watching yourself in a movie. Most of us are, unfortunately, most of us are convinced that we're in the play. Literally, it's the world that we live in. Many of us don't, and most of us do. The small amount who don't are watching the movie from the audience, from oneness, watching the play of duality, the movie of duality, of up and down. And one of the ways to get to oneness is start to cancel out the coin. Heads and tails ultimately is the same thing. If you can't have one without the other, you can't get rid of tails and keep the heads. You can get rid of the heads and keep the tails. But ultimately, they're the same thing. And for this guy, I don't remember his name, but in Willoughby, life for him was death for him. For the people that were watching him on the side of the train, he died. For him, his death was life. It depended on how you looked at it, but it was the same thing. Death was life and life was death, depending on how you looked at it. Depending on how you look at the coin. Look at the coins, heads and tails, separate things. But once you look at it close enough, you realize you can't have one without the other. You have to enter into the coin and realize it's oneness. You have to enter into the movie. Not by pretending you are the movie. First you become the movie. And once you realize that you don't leave the movie, you enter into the depths of the movie. Where else would you go to find God but into the depths of first you enter into your body, into your bones, and the electricity of your brain, and all that kind of stuff, and you move into it, which really means you're moving away from it. But where else would you go? I mean, I guess you can go to a book, but you move into the book. Where are you going? Into the book? The book is just matter. No different than this computer. No different than a phone. No different than this big lighter that I have here, or my earphones, or this mic. The body. But if anything in this room would carry most information, it would be my brain, which is no different than any other inanimate object here. So where would I go to find God? You close your eyes and you go within. Whereas within what we call the body, which is a mental image in the mind that we are. And if once you think of the mental image in the mind that we are, we're going into the brain. And then we're going into the brain, and then essentially we're leaving the brain and we're going into the mind. The brain is almost like a portal. It's like a doorway into the mind. Of course, the brain is in the arms, it's in the chest, it's in the legs. So however you go into when you want to get into the mind, you go through the body. This is another way of saying first you become one with the world, and then you wake up from the world. First, you realize that you are everybody around you. And if we're in a dream, what does that mean? That means everyone around you is you, is a different aspect of you. So you can go through another body as well. You can see yourself as somebody else completely. Identify with that person psychologically and emotionally, and eventually physically as well. I mean, you see yourself as one with everybody around you. But eventually, you're going to have to go within to yourself alone to connect to everyone else's inner life. You can't try to control other people and go through their inner life. You might get close to one or two people, but essentially you have to go through your own inner life. And we all know what that means. It means closing your eyes and going through your own frame, into your own content. And trying to lose all the information, all the data, all the choices that have been made, all the images that are there that are telling you that you have a lot of problems. And clarifying for yourself, hey, all the images and thoughts that are in this mind of mine, this brain of mine, is a problem. I'm going to wipe all these thoughts clear, and then eventually one day I'll wipe out the brain completely. I'll get rid of the brain completely. But in the meantime, I have to go into the brain. I'm into the mind, which is what the brain is in. Brain's sort of a picture in the mind. It's the thought that all other thoughts are in. I would argue all of the negative thoughts. The brain seems to be is another word for the ego, or at least it's an ego manifestation. It's a direct ego manifestation. It's a direct ego manifestation. And if you don't know that, it becomes something you worship. It's delicate. And if you look at it the wrong way, it can just it can die. But it's also super a super machine that can it's the greatest machine on the planet. All the stuff you hear about the brain. The brain is just a picture in the mind. You go through it to get to the other side. You have to go through the brain, through the body. You have to go through the negativity to get to the positivity. You know, shove your way through the crap to get to the perfume. You can just walk around it. Miracles don't come easy per se. It's easy what miracles are. It's simple to understand a miracle, what it is. But if you're in a situation where you really want to humbling yourself to say even the slightest, moving slowly, even the slightest towards admitting that you could possibly not, might want to give up your management of your situation over to God and let Him, tell you what's actually happening in your situation. Instead of running towards your own point of view, you can run towards God's point of view, and you do that, then you have a miracle going on. And from there, you will find yourself getting things they'll pop up. It's amazing what happens in your life. Little things will surprise you. Wow, how'd that happen? I'm looking to start a class for acting. Just ran into someone the other day who's my speech therapist. She tells me I want to start acting. I have been doing some spiritual work on trying to attract. And I met her but 3 times, and she's already told me she wants to start acting and she wants to find a teacher. Remember my Vanilla Sky thing? If you don't know what I'm talking about, I rent the movie Vanilla Sky. Out of nowhere, things might turn. They could turn when you're miracle ready. Because God can snap his finger in a heartbeat and change everything for you. Depending on how ready you are to receive the love of God. The more you're willing to receive from God, the more you'll get from God. It's that simple. The greater your desire, the greater the want, the greater the get. The more you know that you're capable of receiving everything and anything you want, the more you will be able to receive anything and everything you want. The only problem is separation. We think we're separated from God and each other. So we don't know how powerful we really are. We can get anything we want whenever we want. I put this to you. We're getting everything we want, anything we want, whenever we want, right now. But we don't see the problem. We don't see what we're doing. We don't see what's going on at all. We don't see that we're getting what we want. We don't see that we're all powerful. And so all this that's going on, we think is out of our control. And so we just let it go. And it keeps on happening and happening and happening. And one day we'll realize that it's all happening in our mind. In our mind, singular. There's one mind here with one problem that's already been solved. The end. All right. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that, gents and ladies. Thanks so much for coming into Miracles Everywhere today to ACIM, on ACIM Gather. And I'm going to give the mic back to Len. I was going to play a song, but I'm going to end it there. I don't have a song set up for the ending here, so I'll just give the mic back to Len. Thanks very much, everyone. This Miracles Everywhere. I'll be back on Monday for, sorry I missed Tuesday, but basically I was just hit with something. But I feel better now, and I'll be back on Monday for the personal life. But this was, I hope it was helpful today, even a little helpful. If anything, just become miracle ready and be able to change your mind just a little bit, just enough to plant a seed in your mind that will hopefully grow over time. So until Monday, peace.
Thank you so much, Rev Wayne Stills, and grateful to have you here. I look forward to seeing you on Monday. And